Well, you know the problems I was mentioning before? Well, they are happening again. Thought maybe it was just bad luck or something like that. Maybe I had the accessory seated wrong in the shoe. But I'll try to explain. I have sound problems again. And what you're listening to right now is the sound that's coming through the onboard microphone. That is the camera that is built directly into the microphone. It's generally regarded as not good practice to use any camera that's attached to the microphone for the simple reason that it picks up noise from the motor. Like it'll pick up noise from the tape, like the little gears inside the camera recording the tape movements, like various sounds of autofocusing, things like that. And also, just in terms of like general power, the preamps inside the camera, the material that supplies power is generally not very good. So most of the time when you're recording from a camera, you want to use as much externally as possible. Like you'll see people, if you must put it on the camera, they have a shock mount, which is essentially like a camera seated on rubber bands in a very elaborate rig to absorb the sound of the motors inside the camera. I can't do that for the simple reason is I do this alone. I have no one else helping to record video or sound. So it is possible, because I use, my favorite microphone right now is this condenser microphone, which I use as a boom mic and as the microphone for voiceovers, and I like it a lot because it is high quality for one, and it uses XLR inputs, and that's actually the reason I chose this camera, is because it's one of the few cameras at that price range, that is, I spent about $1,000 on this camera, that has the capability to accept an XLR microphone input. That's very rare. You usually have to get a much higher quality camera that is like the kind of shoulder-mounted cameras that look like aircraft, you know, Stingers, that have this kind of input. So it's actually very, very good. And I have not had a lot of experience in that, but I'm told the difference between this and the other type of microphone jack you can get is a little mini jack. It looks like a headphone jack. I've told it's very noticeable. And I know my reviews don't look great, but I like to have them sound as good as possible, which is why it's a little distressing for me to have to deal with this problem. What is the problem exactly? Well, this thing sits on top of the camera, directly on top. And it slides into a little shoe called an accessory shoe, and from there the camera cable goes into this, the signal goes down into the camera, and you get the condenser microphone recorded directly onto the tape. Like I said, it's bad practice to have anything on the camera. Usually when you're doing any kind of higher quality production, you're recording sound separately, and you would do that by recording it into my computer, which is possible, but it's, once again, just being me, I would have to, every time I set up a take, which I have to set up the camera, point the camera, get ready to perform, start the camera, use a clapboard really to sync up the sound and the video, then start the recording on the computer. That's a lot of running around for me to do, and it's not something I'm capable of doing easily, which is why I like the versatility of just being able to, you know, hit the button on my remote, start recording, and go. So this may lead to some kind of evolution of the review where I try to find some crew, or I would really just like to fix the camera. So just to illustrate what's going on here, this is what you're hearing now from the onboard microphone, and this, hang on a second. This is what you're hearing now, if you're able to hear anything at all, because there's a lot of static. This is not. Hang on, let me hear what you're hearing here. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Actually, it was a lot worse. There was like this really heavy crackling sound going on. And let me take this thing off. It was actually a lot worse. You would hear this really heavy cracking, staticky sound. And like I said, this problem is really intermittent, which is kind of distressing because I can't easily replicate the problem. Because sometimes it's better than others, sometimes it's better or worse. And so the first thing I tried was just cleaning contacts, like the little contacts on the bottom, the little golden colored one. I took like a Q-tip with an alcohol swab and I cleaned it up, let it dry, tried it again. It didn't really help. I'm not sure what else to do. But yeah, that's currently the situation with the sound camera problem. Trying to think what else I can tell you about it. I could just record on the onboard microphone. You might argue there's not a whole lot of difference. The issue there is I actually tend to agree with you. There isn't a whole lot of difference, and this is not exactly the kind of top flight production values we're talking about here. So it's not critical, but it would be kind of noticeable in the sense that if I ever if I switch from voiceover to live recorded audio, you'd notice a difference. You'd notice a hit. And I think in the latest review you saw with Street Fighter 2010, I tried. This is when I was still having the problems. The first time I recorded it, it was total garbage. Like it didn't sound good at all. It was in fact way worse than the stuff you just heard, in that it was completely inaudible. You couldn't hear anything. And I did some sound tests before, and it sounded actually okay through the headphones, but there was still a very audible hiss, a very noticeable staticky sound in the background, which I think really detracted from the review. I guess I'm just being a perfectionist, but I noticed it, and I'm pretty sure some of you noticed it as well. And so I'm kind of a stickler on sound quality, but yeah, I don't know what to do. I'm going to try to look for a camcorder repair shop to see if there's any chance that I can get it repaired. I just know I'm going to take that thing in, and I'm going to be like, well, what's wrong? And they go, well, there's static on the accessory shoe, and either I'll plug it in, there won't be any problems, it'll sound great, or they'll be like, well, that's your problem, is you're using the stinking accessory shoe. Why don't you record out separate audio, because it's bad. So, if it doesn't work, if I can't get it fixed, I don't know what to do. Either I stop using the proper microphone or I get a better camera, but that's not as easy as it sounds. You guys have been very generous in donating money to help me get it repaired, and that money is going to go help get it repaired if I can. But it's a new camera. Cameras range wildly in quality and price. And I'm actually not... I'm probably better than most at picking out a camera, but even so, I would like to get the best quality camera I can, but they tend to run a few thousand dollars, and I'm not asking for money. In fact, I feel really uncomfortable asking for money. I don't do that. If any of you guys have any spare cameras to donate, I would love to see it. But like I said, there's a difference in there's kind of consumer cameras, which are those little teeny dinky handheld cameras that you kind of point and shoot, and the sound quality there is terrible, and I wouldn't want to do those. This camera has actually been a real trooper. It's been with me from the beginning, and it's put up with a lot of crap. I've treated it really well, but it's seen hard use. It might be this camera's time. So, and it is kind of old, which is my other concern. Is as cameras go, it was probably mid-90s when it was made, so I'm not sure how much of a dinosaur that makes this camera. It probably does make it pretty obsolete in camera terms, which may make it really hard to fix. But yeah, I may have to go shopping pretty soon, but I wanted to explain to you the problems I've been having with the camera. So I'm going to see if I can try to replicate some other little sound issues that you actually got probably the best sound has sounded in a while. But yeah, that's the situation right now. I might have to stay off camera for a little while until I get this resolved. But yeah, I'm not begging for donations, not yet anyway. I'm going to wait to see. I'm keeping the money you guys donated aside. Like that, I'm not touching that. In fact, yeah. But if I ever have to bury this camera, which may come soon. Actually, there was another problem I ran into with the camera lately. I plugged it in. I always like to run off the main line. I don't like to run off battery if I don't have to, so I always have it plugged into the wall. I switched the camera on just before I started doing this, and it started like turning on and off. Like it started going like I was flipping the power switch on and off like rapidly, and I was like, that was kind of scary. I didn't know why it was doing that. I thought maybe I had the plug in loosely, and it wasn't it. I wasn't wiggling the plug around. I didn't have it. I don't half-ass this kind of thing. I treat the camera really well. So that might be another sign this camera is kind of going through its death rattles. It's worrisome. I don't want to have to buy a new camera. So like, yeah, I'm worried. Things will continue. If I have to, I actually will record audio and video separately. I really don't want to have to buy a new camera. That is absolutely last resort. So we'll see. Until next time, I'll probably do some like voiceover stuff like the Ripper thing. I don't need to be in front of the camera for Ripper, but yeah, it's kind of a teeth gritting moment. Until next time. Oh. At first I thought I wasn't seating it in the shoe right, like the contacts weren't lining up, but that's almost impossible to do with this thing. Still might be dirty, I don't know. And I know it's definitely the accessory shoe because I gotta turn this off. So you probably notice how much better it sounds now, but you can still probably kind of hear the motor noise going on. That's generally why you don't want to use onboard mic. Although this is one of the better ones, I think. So I've heard some onboard mics, they sound horrendous. This is another thing that kind of has a problem. This is my shotgun mic, and this one is actually really good. I use this to record pretty much all of the epic battle, which is why you were able to kind of hear all the way across the room. It was really sweet. But it's got 3 modes. Let's screw this on here. Okay. You probably notice you can hear a few different things. You can probably hear the ceiling fan. You know, that doesn't sound too bad, right? But you can still kind of hear a kind of hiss in the background. I don't use the shotgun mic a lot, especially not in this enclosed space, but anytime I get like wider, which I was actually planning to do some stuff in other areas outside, and this is where it gets bad. This is the Now, you're going to hear it kind of feedback a lot because you're not supposed to use it on the shotgun setting on the inside, but you can still, this is much different than it used to be because you never used to hear this static, and it's actually still a lot better than it was. I don't know. This thing is crazy. It's driving me nuts. Yeah, that's the stand. Unusual. I know you're not supposed to do that. Never tap your mic. That's bad. It actually it is a lot better than it was. Yeah.